Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and having a wonderful start to your day, and I hope everyone's been having a great week out there so far. There's a few things to talk about in this morning's video, and the first thing we'll go over, of course, is today's weather. We'll speak on current conditions, the latest outlooks, and then we'll break down the country section by section. Overall, folks, not a very active weather day or night. I mean, there's a couple areas to watch out for. That run the higher risk of strong to severe thunderstorm activity. So we'll zoom into a few states, but that won't take us long at all as far as today's forecast, that portion of the video. After that, we'll discuss the days to come. Is there any other higher risk of strong to severe thunderstorm activity over the next few days or flash flooding? We'll speak on that, but I'll tell you, it's not a very active pattern in regards to any of that coming up. So at least in the short-term future. But what we'll spend the most time on in this morning's video will be an update on the tropics. Chances are increasing for tropical development somewhere in the northeast Gulf or off the coast of the southeast. And right now it's trending more so to off the coast of the southeast. So we'll get detailed on that, speak on it, speak on what's causing this, and just give you my take on some things. We'll go over model guidance. So if you just want an update on the tropics, definitely just jump right to the update on the tropics timestamp if you want to do that. And then at the very end of the video, guys, we got you another Bible devotion. So if you're interested in joining us as we dive into Scripture, definitely do that. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over, and it gives many others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is the current conditions. We got kind of areas of energy flying around everywhere. We'll start west to east. We got energy surging south to north across areas of the Rockies. Same with the southern plains and the south central U.S. Just a push of moisture, kind of the combination between the leftovers of what was Tropical Storm Barry and a tropical system named Flossie over areas of the eastern Pacific. So we're just getting a push of moisture from that. That's definitely one of the main drivers of the push of moisture. And then we got some energy shooting across the plains. Right now, the Dakotas, Nebraska, a little bit of energy up here in northern areas of Minnesota. And then we have a what's left over of a cold front sort of draping across areas of the eastern U.S. So this is driving a lot of rain along the I-95 corridor through the mid-Atlantic up into southern New England. And we continue just to have a lot of moisture dancing off the Gulf coastline down here in the northeast Gulf. And we're starting to get more moisture on the southeast side of this too, meaning off the coast of the southeast on the Atlantic side. So this is going to be a heavy topic, I think, over the next several days, the energy that tries to get going down here in this region. So this is current conditions, watches, warnings, and advisories. Some heat advisories across Montana, very hot conditions compared to average up here. Red flag warnings across the Pacific Northwest in those hot pink colors. And we got flood watches up for areas of Arizona, New Mexico, and we continue to have some flood watches up for southeast Virginia. And some dense fog out here in these gray counties labeled here in PA, Ohio, and those areas. So the update on severe weather is Storm Prediction Center outlook. Huge marginal risk across areas of the northern Rockies. We also have a marginal risk down here across areas of Nevada, Utah, Arizona, even a small section of California, and a very large marginal risk going across the north central U.S. into the Great Lakes region. So there's pretty large areas of the country that run a risk of severe weather, but just not a super high risk of severe weather. Right now, we don't even have a slight level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather, just 3 large marginal risk. Now, I would watch eastern areas of North Carolina, maybe southeast VA. I could see them introducing a marginal risk down here. Looks like we're going to get a lot of thunderstorm activity here over the next 12 to 18 hours. And I will zoom into North Carolina and Virginia for you folks living down here and tuning in. So we'll speak on that. But not a high-end severe weather day, whatsoever. So risk of flash flooding, we'll have to watch for Arizona and New Mexico, western Texas, as we continue to get this push of moisture from Mexico into the states. We'll have to watch the west coast of Florida. You guys have a 15% risk of flash flooding in the yellow area up here. Is that 15% risk of flash flooding in eastern areas of North Carolina and southeast Virginia. Elsewhere, not a huge deal. The southeast, a broad look at things. 2 areas to watch for, I would say. One, as we get into the afternoon, a lot of thunderstorm and just tropical moisture activity dancing around across the peninsula of Florida. And then we got heavy thunderstorm activity in eastern North Carolina to the coastline, southeast VA, heck, even southern areas of Maryland. And we keep this going. We could get some thunderstorm activity that tries to get going here in the eastern areas of South Carolina and Georgia also, even the panhandle of Florida here. But we continue to move forward, and we get into the overnight hours. And, of course, just like with any kind of summer setup with the loss of daytime heating, we lose the thunderstorms. But just a closer look at Florida. And this is part of this area of interest, this energy being trapped, bogged down into these areas, into the areas of the Gulf and off the coast of the southeast. And Florida, of course, literally sticks out like a sore thumb, and you're kind of right in the middle of this. So we start off around 10 a.m., get to about lunchtime. A lot of heavy rain activity begins to move into the west coast of Florida. But at the same time, we're going to get thunderstorm activity near Miami up to West Palm Beach. I mean, all these areas could see thunderstorm activity. The entire peninsula of Florida could see rain today. But 5 p.m., 6 p.m. just looks like a very rainy and stormy evening for you folks from Daytona, from basically south. Anybody south of Gainesville is likely dealing with thunderstorm activity, at least nearby. And north of Gainesville, more isolated in nature. But you continue to keep this going, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 midnight, still getting big thunderstorms, maybe around the Tampa to Orlando area. So, still tropical downpours, just hanging out, even into the overnight hours, all the way into tomorrow morning. We take it out to about 8 p.m. Thursday tomorrow. Over 5 inches of rain is possible in Tampa. 4 to 5 inches from Sarasota up to Tampa. Orlando, maybe an inch. A lot of rain is expected over the west coast of Florida, guys. So just go on and prepare for this. This could become an issue, especially if you get 3 or 4 inches of rain in like an hour or two. That's a lot of rain very quickly, and it could definitely happen in some areas today. So just be mindful of all this rain that could fall in Florida today. Now, showing some love to North Carolina and Virginia. I really think as early as, mid to late morning, we'll get a lot of thunderstorm activity that begins to become widespread from Raleigh down to Fayetteville, up to Richmond, points east. And we're going to get some thunderstorms also back to Greensboro, Danville, Roanoke more than likely too. But man, by the time we get into about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we get some big thunderstorms. And like I said, these storms look pretty intense. They're basically driven off what's left over of a cold front. So maybe enough pushing mechanism in the atmosphere, enough oomph kind of to drive a bit of a damaging wind threat. Storm Prediction Center does mention it in this area. So I could see an upgrade to a marginal risk in this area. So be mindful. Jacksonville, Greenville, the Outer Banks, up to Virginia Beach. 3 p.m. Storms look pretty widespread, pretty intense. We get to 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. If we can get this in motion here, 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Things begin to simmer down. Western areas of the Carolinas, Virginia, eastern Tennessee, West Virginia, eastern Kentucky. You guys look pretty calm. It looks like you're on the drier side of the front. So, but a lot of rain could fall in this area. I might as well show it while I'm here. And over the next 36 hours, I would say, that red area here, let's move right there. These red areas here in eastern North Carolina, that's where over 2 inches of rain could fall. There's a little area right here showing over 4 inches of rain. So this is between now and tomorrow night. A lot of rain could fall. Even Charlotte, even showing a lot of rain up down here like near the Columbia area. So we'll have to see for that. With that, honestly, some of these areas are showing a lot of rain. Short range model guidance really isn't showing a whole lot out of this. So it's interesting to me they're going for such higher totals. But, it's model guidance for a reason. The experts will get it right over models most of the time. But starting off this morning across the Northeast, we're dealing with the shield of heavy rain activity across the I-95 corridor. I do think, man, honestly, by the time you get into the afternoon hours, things begin to calm down. There's not really anything to talk about. Maybe a downpour or two in the down east areas of Maine. And a little bit of flow gets going up here in eastern Canada. Could bring some shower storm activity in Ontario. But by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, some energy will fly by to the north. This will bring some shower downpour activity for areas of New York. As you can tell, it's around 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we're waking up to some scattered downpours and just rain in the Adirondacks, Tuckhill Plateau, down to the Finger Lakes. So the south central U.S., big push of moisture continues into this area. So we'll take it to about 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. You see just widely scattered showers and storms. Tropical moisture for sure in nature here across western Texas. Not a whole lot for eastern Texas. And this is getting into southeast areas of New Mexico. And some of this rain activity could make it all the way to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, southern areas of Oklahoma. But, then we get into the overnight hours all the way into tomorrow morning. It could wake up to a rainy start. Central and northern Texas up into Oklahoma, maybe even areas of Arkansas. But, taking a closer look at, say, western Texas, areas could get half an inch to an inch of rain, which is a lot for this area of the country. And then we take a look at New Mexico. This is rainfall between now and about 6 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, evening. And some areas, especially some of these higher elevated regions, provides enough lift in the atmosphere to squeeze out more moisture. Some areas can get over an inch to 2 inches of rain. So definitely a lot of rain, especially if you're southern areas of New Mexico. So be aware of that. North central U.S., just enough flow up here to generate some severe thunderstorm activity. And as you can tell, you can see some storms firing up. Now there's a marginal risk, that stretches all the way back into South Dakota, a good chunk of Minnesota, northern Iowa. But on this particular run, it doesn't show much activity down to Iowa. But keep in mind, any storms that do form back here in South Dakota, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, heck, even southern areas of Wisconsin, they could be severe. But there's a high chance you might not even get a drop of rain. But it does show widespread thunderstorm activity here in northern areas of Wisconsin, especially the western half of the UP and Michigan. And then, by the time we get into tomorrow morning, things begin to dwindle away. But just a closer look at my friends here in Wisconsin, UP and Michigan, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. You can see some storms around Duluth, the Ironwood, over to Marquette, and everybody in between. You guys could get a strong to severe thunderstorm or two out of this. And there is definitely a signature showing up for some more stronger, intense updrafts. So we could get a damaging wind gust, a little bit of hail out of some of these storms. And we take it to about 9 p.m., just widely scattered showers and storms across northern Wisconsin and the western half of the UP and Michigan. And then we start to get into the overnight hours. And some of this stuff could drift all the way down to Green Bay, Stevens Point. Folks, we've been very slow at work lately. And I don't know if any of you folks ever do this, but sometimes I get on Google Maps, and I take the little dude that you can click on and you can drop on certain road networks, and I'll virtually drive to certain areas. And I've been doing this around the UP of Michigan lately, like the road networks kind of bordering Lake Superior all the way up in the northeast sections of Minnesota. It's just so awesome up there. You guys, hopefully you don't let the coolness of the weather up there and just the environment, nature, just slip by you daily. Sometimes I often wonder, these people that live in interior sections to the northeast during the fall, or up here in the UP of Michigan during the fall, if they just don't actually comprehend how awesome it is up there. Now, I know not everybody's a cold weather fan. I'm sure there's a lot of people who live up here that are begging to live where I live, here in the armpit of hell, here in central South Carolina. But some of these areas that I drop my little icon in, it shows a picture out of September or October, and it just looks freaking awesome. I'm just like, I tell my wife all the time, I was like, man, UP of Michigan, way up in northern Wisconsin, northeast Minnesota is just a place where I would love to live. As insane as that sounds for my folks in the South, I'm definitely the opposite. If I was to retire, I would probably want to move north. And my wife's down for it too, so that's pretty awesome. But worst case scenario, which is still a really best case scenario, is we're going to move to the mountains of North Carolina. it's pretty much set in stone. We're gonna do it. But anyways, you know, guys, we're good for one side story of video. But you guys are lucky up here in the UP. Just it's got to be cool to actually feel like fall in September and October. See, down here in South Carolina, we don't peak for our fall foliage until like the second week of November. So by then, I mean, it's already stick season up here and snow's starting to fall. And that's the way it should be. It should be snowing around Christmas. It should be beautiful fall weather around Halloween and just October and stuff. But anyways, Western U.S., big push of moisture coming up from south to north. I'll stop it here. It's around 2 p.m. this afternoon here, Western time. And we got a lot of moisture in Nevada, Utah, Arizona. We've already talked about New Mexico, even some moisture pushing all the way up into the northern Rockies. And, you know, still looks widespread tonight. And then we'll do it all again tomorrow also. Maybe not quite as widespread, but still looks pretty widespread to me. Maybe a little bit more widespread, I would say, for the northern Rockies and central Rockies. But some of these storms, let's back it up for today. Some of these storms up here could get hit strong to severe limits up in Montana, Nevada. But the rainfall, well, actually, this is a closer look at what the radar could look like in this area today. You can see just a lot of thunderstorm and downpour activity. So if you're, you know, doing some hikes out here across the Rockies or whatever, definitely be aware of the weather today. It could change on the dime. I heard some stories about Lake Tahoe a couple weeks back, and how the weather just flipped and on a dime. But anyways, just be aware of that. You know, rainfall over the next 36 hours down here. Definitely pockets of a few tenths of an inch of rain. Nothing too crazy, but I mean, for these areas, you get half an inch of rain in a day. I mean, that's a lot of rain. So temperatures warm just pretty much everywhere, guys. I mean, the only area that will struggle to warm up is honestly if you're just dealing with a lot of cloud cover and storm activity and rain. And but everywhere pretty much is going to be pretty humid and pretty warm unless you live way up in high in latitude. But you know, just 80s, 90s pretty much across the board. So some 70s here and there. And then across the west, it's hot right up the spine of the high plains. So 90s, even 100s. Up into Montana. A little bit of cooler air in the Pacific Northwest. I would say this is the coolest probably area of the country. A little bit of flow troughing in place. But yeah, guys, I mean, moving forward here, looking at tomorrow's severe weather outlook, a little bit of flow across the northern high plains. So a marginal risk there. Some flow will generate more of a higher severe weather threat across areas of the Midwest into portions of the Great Lakes region, and then the entire New England Northeast area has a marginal risk. I mean, just about the entire Northeast. Level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Day 3, marginal risk across the northern terrain of the country, pretty much all of Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas, northern Wisconsin, and a small section of the western UP of Michigan. And yeah, just a level 1 out of 5 risk and nothing too extreme one way or the other. And we will look at the risk of excessive rainfall. Once again, for tomorrow, we will have a slight risk across Florida. So just continue to be aware of flash flooding down here. And for day 3, looks like the risk of flooding drops. But, you know, for day 3 across the rest of the country, it looks pretty tame, guys. So moving forward here and giving you guys an update on the tropics right now. And listen, right now we're in a bad routine where the National Hurricane Center makes changes to these outlooks right after I drop the video. So I do want to say this, and I need to reiterate this every time because it drives me insane. But right now, as of pretty much the 2 a.m. update, now this is how the updates work for the National Hurricane Center. And I know it says 1:38 to be exact, but normally it's around 2 a.m., it's around 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 11 p.m. That's normally how it works. So normally I'm dropping a video right before the 8 a.m. update. So right now, as of 2 a.m., let's just round it up to 2 a.m., we have a 40% chance of tropical development in this orange area. Almost said within 25 miles in a given location. See, I'm so stuck on severe weather season, but we have a 40% chance of tropical development in this orange area. So tropical development means there is a chance it could become a depression or even a named storm. So the next name is the C name Chantal is the way you say it, Chantal. So that is the next name out of the list of names. So we got to watch. But if you notice, I don't know if you notice, it's more so off the coast of the southeast now rather than the northeast Gulf. Still have a little bit of this area over the northeast Gulf, but more of it's off the coast of the southeast now, and models have trended more so towards that. So, but moving forward here and kind of looking at this area, if we're looking at convection, these greens, these yellows, reds, things like that, this just indicates colder cloud tops, deeper convection. The more stronger the convection, the higher up these clouds go. And the higher up these clouds go, the more they reach colder air. And then this reflects with what we're seeing here with these colder cloud tops. So you can see there's a lot of convection off the coast of the southeast. I mean, this is hanging out over some 80+ degree waters, the Gulf Stream's right in here. So we just got to watch. This kind of stuff can happen fast, guys, and models struggle with it. Sometimes it'll show absolutely nothing. I mean, even with Tropical Storm Barry, folks, I mean, it didn't show a whole lot of anything. And then we ended up getting a named storm out of it, Barry. I mean, you can even see a little spin, even here in the Gulf down here. So all this convection blowing up doesn't always tell the story. We kind of have to look what's under the hood. Is there a lower level circulation? There's definitely not right now, but this could happen fast, guys. I mean, there's a 40% chance of tropical development over the next 7 days, but it could happen sooner. So we're watching, and if I do go back and show you this, it does say, if you read the discussion, environmental conditions appear only marginal for marginally conducive for some slow development, but a tropical or subtropical depression could form in the region over the weekend or early next week while the system moves a little. So, for it to be dubbed a tropical depression, it has to have a defined low-level circulation. So just kind of remember that as we head off deeper into hurricane season. But looking at the 850 millibar Vort map, which is what this is, the yellows, the oranges, things like that, what you see on your screen, this is where we have more energy in the lower levels of the atmosphere. 850 millibars, about a mile above our heads at the surface. So 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air. So, of course, this is over the open waters, not over land. But we'll start off the morning of the 4th of July. So 2 mornings from now, 48 hours from now. And if you notice, we got a little bit of a kind of an elongated spin. So there's some rotation, cyclonic flow with these wind barbs, but it's not really tightening up. Now, this is the Euro. We continue to move into Saturday morning, July 5th. You kind of have 2 separate areas, one little spin trying down here in Florida, but a main one off the coast of the southeast. If you look at the wind barbs here, and I'm going to draw on this a little bit. So you see this wind barb here, the flag is pointing on this side. That means the flow is coming out of that direction. So it's kind of going like this, going like that, going like that, and then like that. So there is a little bit of sort of a weak low right here and flow going around that weak low in the lower levels of the atmosphere. So this is, around that area or in that area where there's a 40% chance of tropical development. This is over the next 70, 80 hours or so. So we get this back off your screen and, we keep rolling here and we go all the way into Sunday morning. It actually loses that tighter spin it has, but tries to tighten back up here and get into Monday. We get into Tuesday, gets kind of close to the coastline, like Sunday into Monday, but then it just drifts away and then weakens. So it doesn't look very defined, I would say. Now, we look at the GFS, the latest GFS, see what it's showing here. Same thing, we'll start off with the 4th of July morning. Show a lot of energy off the coast of the southeast. Nothing really defined, kind of getting together yet, though. And then we start to get into Saturday morning. We get some robust energy reflected off kind of the red colors you see here, but it's not really a dominant look as far as a defined low-level circulation. Now, these wind barbs are circling around each other, cyclonically. But if you notice, it kind of does like this. Kind of goes like that, kind of goes like that, and then it kind of goes off like that. Okay, and it just doesn't, it doesn't look like it's rotating cyclonically. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a defined area of low pressure here at this point. So Now, we start to get to about Saturday evening. This is when you have more of a defined lower level spin. I mean, nothing outrageous or crazy or anything like that off the GFS, but you can see at this point, these wind barbs are sort of circling around each other in more of a tighter fashion, if you will. And I mean, there's a clear rotation with these wind barbs. So we have some sort of a lower level cyclonic rotation here at this point. So, we start to bring this into Sunday morning. It looks like it propels a lot of energy against the South Carolina coastline with this a more vibrant color of red here, indicating more stronger energy. And this kind of gets thrown up against the South Carolina coastline. But the actual spin is kind of right off the coast of northeast Florida, the Georgia coastline. But who knows exactly where this is going to be. And this eventually sort of just pushes into the South Carolina coastline Sunday, Monday, this coming Sunday or Monday. So, I mean, it's not too far out away from us. And then whatever spin this is sort of grinds across the South Carolina, North Carolina coastline and then heads on off. And who knows, maybe tries to fully develop at that point. But, so it doesn't look that worrisome. And if you look at the actual precipitation map, I'm showing you all this lower level energy. What does this mean as far as what's falling from the sky? Rain, what about the winds? Well, we take it to about the 4th of July morning, and I mean, most of the energy is off the coast of the southeast. I mean, so if you're worrying about this affecting your 4th of July plans across Georgia and the Carolinas, it won't, except just normal run-of-the-mill thunderstorm activity. Now you start to get into Friday. I mean, it looks pretty wet across Florida. And then, we get into Saturday, we get into Sunday. There's that weak low showing up here as we get into Sunday morning. Some of that tropical moisture does try to inch towards the Carolina coastline. But, I mean, it just doesn't look like anything defined as far as moisture. We'll look at the GFS too, and there it is, Saturday morning, the morning of July 5th, weak low, 1013 millibar low, 1012, just throwing some moisture Sunday against the Carolina coastline, and this sort of dances up the Carolina coastline Sunday evening, throwing some moisture, and then eventually it heads on off. So, one thing I will say is, sea surface temperatures in this area off the coast of the southeast, if this is where this tropical development actually develops, 29 degrees Celsius, you turn that into Fahrenheit, I mean, that's around the mid-80s. There's probably pockets of 30 degrees Celsius, 28 degrees Celsius. So it's around the 80s. So that's warm enough to support tropical development along the Gulf Stream right here in this area. So we'll continue to watch. Regardless, guys, a lot of rain. This is rainfall between now and 8 a.m. next Wednesday, July the 9th. Several inches of rain expected across the peninsula of Florida. A lot of this will fall over the next 48 hours. So a lot of rain here, and we will bump it up and show some love to Georgia and South Carolina. If you notice, most of the rainfall forecast is up against the Georgia and South Carolina coastline. So maybe a couple inches of rain over the next week. Nothing outrageous, I would say. And then we'll show some love to North Carolina here, but a lot of this is falling today. So just keep that in mind. But, all in all, nothing too concerning about this, but this is how we get early season tropical development. And, I mean, we're in July now. We're not in late May, early June. So, I mean, when I tell you there's a pretty big difference between tropical activity between early July and late July, I mean it. If you, let's see if I can pull it up. Let's see if I can think of it on the fly here. Peak hurricane season map chart. So I'm just gonna, here it is. This is the thing you see probably a lot, and hopefully, it's not gonna let me. I'm gonna try to just zoom into this here. No, so hopefully you can see this pretty well. If you notice, we're probably right around this is July 10th, so it's June 20th. So I mean, we're probably right smack in the middle of this area right here. Okay. So, the red is hurricanes and tropical storms. The yellowish color right here is hurricanes. So you notice from here to about, let's just go to August 1st. In late July, August 1st, there starts to be a uphill climb that becomes a lot more dramatic. So, I mean, it starts to rise pretty fast all the way to peak hurricane season, which is like early September. So it's a very slow sort of climb in this area, and then it dramatically goes on up pretty fast when we get to the end of July, early August. And August is always a big time turning month for hurricane season. So things change a lot from right now to about, the later portion of the month. So that's all I got with the weather update. Let's do a Bible devotion. Let's use this as our timestamp. I'm trying to get to the point where I do this as many times a week as possible, not just every other day. And, some of these devotions are going to be a little rusty and, sometimes just not on the A game, right? But hopefully that's not the case this morning. But this morning, I think we're back in James. We are. And this is James chapter 1, verse 13 through 15. And it says, "No one undergoing a trial should say, I am being tempted by God, since God is not tempted by evil, and he himself doesn't tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when he is drawn away and enticed by his own evil desire. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and when sin is fully grown, it gives birth to death." So I wrote a couple things here. I said God doesn't tempt anyone with sin. Sin originates from within. Sin stems from our own desires. Own desire links to sin. Sin links to death, like it says in Scripture. And then I have notes here, trials versus temptation. So temptation, I put, is when, worldly things consume our thoughts and actions, leading to acting on these things, which lead to sin. And I put here that's more so Satan driven, right? And I'll speak on that here in a second. Trials. God will test us with trials to build character and faith. And, I think we live in a world where life happens, the blows of life. We speak on that all the time in these devotions. Something breaks, something happens, our health deteriorates fast. We face a sickness. Some of these blows in life are worse than others, but I do think, God tries to use these things to, I think, help us turn the page and reach a new point in our life and our journey that He's calling us to walk, and build our character, strengthen our faith, rely on Him more. And that's why I always say this in these devotions. I do believe everything connects, and I think that in Scripture, it connects it all. But if you really think about it, everything connects. And we're called to use these valleys in life to really change us. We're supposed to come out these valleys a different person. And more often than not, we don't. And so that's kind of what I mean with that. So that's why I said God will test us with trials to build character and faith. But He's not going to, I think some people get it maybe somewhat twisted sometimes and think that, God makes us sin, and they think that's like the test. But it's not. That's not the way it says it is. So, you got to put your own desires aside. I know we kind of recycle information here and things like that, but I mean, listen, sin entered the world right at the beginning. I mean, right out the gate, guys. I mean, we know the beginning in Genesis, what happened. I mean, and we have free will. We have free will. And listen, I think that God gave us free will for a reason. I think God desires us to want Him, to desire Him. So He gives us free will. And I think that we're called to figure this life out. And not really on our own, but we're called to figure this life out by relying on Him and walking the journey that He calls us to walk. So we got to put our own desires aside, our own wants, and because Satan will slip in, Satan will come in, and he'll tempt you, and he'll tempt you at your lowest, what you're the weakest at, And, I think I said this a couple months ago. I always think of Satan as this. He's kind of like the dude that's chilling in the shadows, kind of lurking, kind of watching you, right? He's waiting for you to slip. It's as simple as you scrolling on your phone and, you start to watch something that maybe you have no business watching. You start to, read into something that really maybe you shouldn't read into. You start to just think something about a coworker that you have no business thinking. And he will slip in and try to validate that for you. But don't let him do that. Don't let him do that. He will basically kind of mooch off your own worldly desires. But, at the same time, you got something else fighting that too. It's the Holy Spirit and trying to, fight that back for you. But the worldly desires are strong, guys. I'm not going to sit here and say they're not. I mean, I feel it. I feel at it every single day. But I'm a lot better now than I've ever been. But I mean, we all sin every single day. So, but God loves us through it all. So that's all I got, guys. Have a wonderful day, and appreciate y'all so much and the support. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Talk to you later.